Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Commander Cheapskate Gamer Reviews, and this is the series where we review various products related to the wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we will take a look at the Araby Army Book for Warhammer Armies Project 9th Edition Warhammer Fantasy. So for those of you guys who are unaware, there is actually unofficial rules for Warhammer Fantasy 9th Edition written by a man named Matthias Eliasson. Matthias Eliasson is the moderator as well as author of the Warhammer Armies Project, which is an unofficial website, blogger site that actually gives you unofficial 9th Edition Warhammer Fantasy rules, and probably more impressively, army books for every single faction within that setting. Matthias Eliasson has done an excellent job creating army books and updated army books for the 9th edition rules that he created for Warhammer Fantasy, and he's even created publications of army books that never received official support from Games Workshop. So for example, armies like Kislev, for example, as well as Grand Cathay, which is an ancient China inspired army, armies like Chaos Wars, for example, or in this case, Araby. Araby is mentioned quite a bit throughout the lore of Warhammer Fantasy, and for the first time ever, they actually have their own army book, which Matthias has created. You can actually download the PDF of this army book from his website absolutely free because they aren't official rules, but they are beautifully written as well as well published through desktop publishing. Now, as we go through this, of course, we'll take a look at this army book's army rules. We'll take a look at their bestiaries. We'll also take a look at their special characters, their magical system that they have for this army, as well as magical items. We'll take a look overview their army lists, and of course provide our overall conclusion on this project. Now, because this one is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will have timestamps down below in the description box so that way you can click and go and navigate this video to the portion that is most relevant for you. So that being said, let's get this video review on a roll. Alright, so here we are on my desktop computer. So we're going to take a look real fast at Matthias Eliasson's army book for Warhammer Araby. And as you can see here, this is what the army book looks like. Once again, you can download this for absolutely free from the Warhammer Armies Project blog site. And just like always, as I keep on saying all the time, because I really appreciate the level of professionalism that Matthias Eliasson has put in his army books. It's just a beautifully done desktop publication for this. Absolutely fantastic. He has really good artwork from different sources in order to make his book really pop. And like I said, like if you didn't know any better, you would assume that these were actually official products made by GW because of the level of professionalism he has. I mean, look at this beautiful Arabian style, Middle Eastern style scrollwork he has on the borders of his book. Absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and talk about the contents. So when it comes to the actual lore of Araby, we're actually going to skip that part because this video is not a lore video. However, we will talk about armies of Araby. We'll talk about its army special rules, the bestiary for all the different types of units you can take. We'll take a look at their special characters that they also have as well as their magical lore, as well as any interesting game mechanics or rules or magical items that this army has to offer as well. And then of course the last thing we'll go over is the Araby army list. Now, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the lore of Araby, Araby is supposed to be a fictional fantasy version of medieval Middle East that is set during present times. I've already taken a look at some of the things they have available. Things that they take their inspiration from, for example, are Arabian Nights, like 1001 Story from Arabian Nights in terms of monsters and supernatural elements like that. Video games, for example, from like the Prince of Persia game, The Sands of Time is a perfect example of this. We also see some from modern day, from medieval Turkey during the Ottoman Empire, as well as Saracen forces from Syria, as well as from the Middle East today in the Holy Land from the Crusades. We also have some interesting things from Assassin's Creed, for example, with the Hashashin, for example, from Assassin's Creed. So it's a really cool mixed bag of things that are available to the player right off the bat with some really interesting game mechanics. So with that background being said, let's go ahead and take a look real quick at the bestiary. So for the army special rule, they have this awesome rule called Zealotry. It says models with this rule add their combat resolution score to their unit strength value when determining if they are steadfast. In addition, they roll 3d6 for any break test taken in the first round of combat and discard the highest die, which is really cool because it's one of the things that we noticed a lot, especially in terms of history, where the fighters from the Middle East, especially during the Crusades, they have that zealotry, they have that religious zeal behind what they do because they're so devout in their religious faiths during those conflicts. So it's a really cool like little nod to history, especially when it comes to these characters. So let's talk about the commanders real quick. We have two types. We have emirs, which are princes, as well as sheiks. For the emir is the lower level character. He's got movement 4, 6 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, as well as 9 leadership. And then the sheik, which is, I imagine, like the hero version of this character, they pretty much have the exact same stats, except for they have 1 less for weapon skill, 1 less for wounds, 1 less for initiative, as well as attack and leadership. So very, very cool there. At the same time, we also have our sorcerers. Sorcerers are very cool in this game because they could take genies or djinns, and we'll talk about those here in a little bit. So we have our sorcerer lord, which is our lower level character. Movement 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill, strength, toughness 4, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. And the sorcerer, pretty much the exact same stats, except for 1 less for toughness, 1 less for wounds, and then 1 less for leadership as well. Now the troop type, of course, is infantry. The sorcerer is a wizard that uses spells from the lore of fire, lore of metal, lore of heavens, lore of light, lore of shadow, lore of death, or the lore of the desert, which is the unique magical mechanics that they use for this army as well. And they also have the zealotry rules too. After that, we have genies, and genies are quite cool in this game because you can actually take genies as upgrades for your sorcerers. We basically have 4 major types, one for each of the different elementals. We have the Dao, which are elementals of earth, the Merid, which are the elementals of water. We have Jinn, which are the elements of air, as well as Ifrits, which are the elements of fire. So let's talk about these guys real quick. So for a Dao, they have movement 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, 4 strength, 5 toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 3 attacks, and 7 leadership. Merids have 6 movement, 5 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 4 attacks, and 7 leadership. Jinn have 6 movement, 5 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiatives, so they're a little bit faster, 3 attacks, and 7 leadership. And then we have our Ifrits, which are 6 movement, 5 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 5 strength. These are definitely your close combat and fighters. 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, as well as 7 leadership. They come with magical attacks. They also have the unstable special rule and a ward save of 5 up. We also have genie binding special rule. It says a genie is not deployed on the table at the start of the battle, but instead may be summoned at the start of any of your turns as long as they're not already summoned and alive by the sorcerer who controls the genie by passing a leadership test using their own leadership characteristics. Place the genie within 6 inches of the sorcerer, at least 1 inch away from other units or impossible terrain. They may act normally in the turn it is summoned. If a genie is slain, it can be summoned back, which is really cool, in a later turn, but the sorcerer will suffer a cumulative -1 penalty to the leadership test required every time they are trying to do so. However, if the sorcerer is slain, the genie is immediately banished back to its container and removed as a casualty. So this is really cool because you can bring back these genies time and time again so long as you have your leadership score. Now, of course, it deducts every single turn, so starting at leadership 8, it will get statistically and exponentially more difficult to bring them back, but it is a very cool game mechanic as well. Now, it says you have your type of genies. A genie must be specialized to one of the 4 elements. Dao have a natural armor save of 4 up. They can also cast Flesh to Stone from the Lore of Life as an innate power bound spell, power level 5. Merids have a magic resistance of 2 and immunity to ice attack special rule. They can also cast the Ice Shard Blizzard from Lore of Heavens as an innate bound spell, power level 4. Jinn has the Fly 10 special rule, and they can cast a spell Wind Blast from the Lore of Heavens as an innate bound power spell level 4. And an Ifrit. And Ifrit has the Hatred, Flaming Attacks, and Immunity, Flaming Attack special rule. They can cast a spell Flaming Sword of Rune from the Lore of Fire as an innate bound spell, power level 5. Very, very cool unit that you can actually go into. They used to be great to use as bodyguards for your different sorcerers and the units they accomplish in. Then we have the Hashashin, which are basically assassins. This is where the assassin comes from. Think of Assassin's Creed. And the cool thing about these guys, too, is that they actually have unique skills and weapons that they can also use as well to customize them. So very much an Assassin's Creed vibe. You'll see that when we go over the actual items you can actually get for these guys later on. So these are hero-type characters with movement 5, 6 weapon skill and ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 7 initiative, 3 attacks, and 9 leadership. They have the Zealotry special rule, the Hidden special rule, immunity to psychology. They also have Scouts as well as Dodge 5+. So these are nice little character killing assassins because, well, that's what they are. Now let's talk about our warriors real quick. So we have the warriors of Araby. Our warriors basically come with basically 2 types. We have our normal warriors as well as our bowmen. The warrior has a typical human stat line of 4 movement, 3 weapon skill and ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, and 7 leadership. Now you do have these upgrades that you can actually take for these guys in the form of the Debukim as well as the Holy Man. I do hope I'm pronouncing that word correctly. If I do mispronounce that word, I do apologize ahead of time. Their sergeants are known as Ghazi. Ghazi have exactly the same stats except 1 additional attack. Now the Debukim has got movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, and 7 leadership. And the Holy Man has got pretty much the exact same stats except they have 2 initiative but no attacks. Now the Dipikum as well as the Holy Man, you upgrade one of those fighters to accompany your warriors. Now the Debukim is subject to frenzy. They must always be placed in the front rank along the command group, but attacks may be allocated against them as if they were characters. And then finally you have the Holy Man. The Holy Man counts as being part of the unit's command group and is the last model removed. As after champions, a unit with the Holy Man is subject to the Hatred special rule, which is really cool. Nice way to add some more needed punch in a unit of warriors. Now your Bowmen, of course, have the exact same stat lines as your warriors, except that their Sergeant, the Askari, he's got +1 to his ballistic skill, and they also have the Zealotry rule as well. Then we have Corsairs. Corsairs are really cool because they are skirmishers. They're basically like normal warriors, except they have 1 additional weapon skill, 1 additional initiative as well. The bosun is their champion. This guy has 1 additional attack. They have the ambusher special rule as well as zealotry and skirmishers. So a really cool unit to use to go against enemy war machines and the like. Then we have our slave levies, and just like every single book that has come out so far, in the 9th edition, you do have your expendable infantry types. These guys have movement characteristics of 4, 2 weapon skill and ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 3 leadership. The Slave Master has 1 additional weapon skill as well as leadership 7. They have the expendable special rule as well as the mixed unit special rule, and the Slave Master follows the rules for normal unit champions with the following exceptions. The Slave Master is always placed in the rear rank of the unit and may be the only model in that rank. In addition, the unit must take a leadership test at the start of each of their turns. If failed, the slaves are refusing to follow the Slave Master's orders, and the unit will suffer D6 strength 3 hits as he restores order with the use of his whip. So another expendable type of unit to use as chaff for your enemy. Then we have Tribal Nomads and Tribal Skirmishers. Tribal Skirmishers come with movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership. The Aki, I believe is how you pronounce that, has 1 additional ballistic skill. These guys have Skirmisher as well as Zealotry rules, and then you have your Scouts. The Scouts are pretty cool because they have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, 4 ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, and 7 leadership. The Sharpshooter has 1 additional point and ballistic skill. These guys are infantry. They're also scouts, skirmishers, as well as zealotry. And the reason why you take nomad scouts is because of the Giselle rifle, which is the really long-barreled rifles that you see a lot of tribal peoples like Bedouins using for the longest time since the days of gunpowder weapons. It's got a 30-inch range, strength 4, armor piercing 1, and it's a move or fire weapon. So this would be a nice way to pick off some enemies ahead of time before your main body actually closes with your enemy. Then we have Desert Riders, which are your fast cavalry. These guys have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. The Akinji, I believe is how you pronounce that, which is a leader, he's got a 1 additional attack. And the Arabian Steed has normal stats for a horse, but movement 9, so very, very swift. It's got the fast cavalry rules as well as quick to fire rules, and they have the zealotry rule as well. So these guys will make really good screening troops as well. Then we have our Camel Riders. Our Camel Riders have pretty much the same exact stats as the normal light cavalry guys. The Bedouin, which is their captain, also has 1 additional attack. But what's cool about this is you have your Camel. Camel's got movement 7, giving your guys toughness 4, which is really awesome as well. They got the fast cavalry as well as zealotry rules, so these guys are a little bit more resilient light cav, which makes them really neat. Then we have the Sipahis, I believe is how you pronounce that. The Sipahis is kind of like your medium cavalry. They have movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Silhatar, I believe is how you pronounce that. This guy's got exactly the same stats, but 1 additional attack, and they're mounted on Arabian steeds. They also got fast cavalry and zealotry rules. So you are spoiled for choices for fast cav in this army. Then we start going to our more elite troops with Palace Guards. These guys have movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Askar, which is their captain, has 1 additional attack. They have the Stubborn special rule, so they'll be rolling on their unmodified leadership, and they have the Zealotry special rule attached to them as well. Then we have the Janissaries. Now, in case you're not sure what Janissaries are, Janissaries were actually Christians who were actually like Christian slave soldiers. They fought for the Ottoman Empire. The reason why is because back during the early days of Islam, Muslims were forbidden from killing one another. So to get around this rule, a lot of nobles would actually keep slave armies around in order to solve this problem. They're also really, really renowned for being quite elite, highly disciplined, highly trained troops from that time period. So Janissaries, make an appearance in this game as well. So the Janissaries got 4 movement, 4 weapon skill, ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership, and the Balik, which is their leader, basically comes with 1 additional attack as well. They have the Zealotry special rule as well as disciplined. Janissaries have the immunity to panic special rule and may roll 3d6, discarding the highest dice when take a leadership test to redirect charges, restraint pursuit, march, and reform. So very, very cool as well. And yes, they used to wear this really distinctive white headgear into battle as well, which marked them out as the elite troops. And yes, you can take guns for these guys, which makes them really, really neat. Then we have our Mamelukes. Mamelukes in this game are going to be like your heavier cavalry types. These guys have movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Hasham has their champion, which has 1 additional attack. Mounted on Arabian steeds. They got zealotry as well as devastating charge to give them that really nice additional buff to their attacks when they go forward and charging you in close combat. Then we have the Silent Guards. The Silent Guards are interesting. Think of them as the Unsullied from Game of Thrones. Is basically what these guys are. These are slave soldiers who have their tongues removed, who've also been castrated, unfortunately. At the same time, they're also more like robots than human beings at this point. And they have movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership, and they are unbreakable. So this is a really good flank defending unit because it will never break, and they can tar pit your opponents as well. So just like the Unsullied from Game of Thrones. Then we have Flying Carpet Riders, which is a cool little addition to this as you get your more elite units. We have 4 movement, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 3, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. They have the Fly 10 special rule as well as zealotry, and they have, no pun intended, carpet bombing as one of their special rules. So it says, once per turn during the remaining moves sequence of the movement phase, a unit of carpet riders may carpet bomb an enemy unit. At least one of its models has moved over during that phase. Each flying carpet rider flex D3 strength 2 hits with the poison attack special rule. So that part is really neat as well. And then of course we also have dervishes. We're going to talk about those guys here in a second. Alright, so let's talk about dervishers next. Dervishers are actually based off of real life people during the Middle Ages, especially from the Middle Ages, I would say all the way up to the Victorian era of the Middle East's history. These guys were actually, if I remember correctly, I believe they were actually holy men who actually were like warrior monks kind of, who took vows of poverty. They're called dervishes because of the way they fought. They were basically spinning around and making these like whirlwind attacks. So let's talk about these guys real quick. So dervishes got movement 5, 5 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, and 8 leadership. They have immunity psychology, poison attacks, skirmishers, swift stride, as well as zealotry special rule, as well as whirling dervish. Dervishes do not charge like normal units. Instead, declare the unit you wish to charge. Roll the charges as normal and turn the dervishes so that they're facing the center of the enemy unit and then move the unit forward. However, dervishes never stop when they reach an enemy unit, but always move their full charge move, emerging on the other side and moving through multiple enemy units if they have enough movement to do so, stopping them one edge of any friendly units. Kind of like fanatics from the Orcs and Goblins. If they ever end their movement within an enemy unit, place the dervishes 1 inch behind the enemy unit. If they cannot be placed behind the enemy unit due to there not being enough space, they are removed as casualties after resolving their attacks. Any unit passed through in this manner takes D3 strength 3 hits with poison attack special roll for every dervish in the unit. An enemy unit that charges the unit of dervishers also suffers D3 strength 3 hits with poison attack special roll for each dervish in base contact, resolving like impact hits. Combat is resolved as normal. So very, very cool with those guys. Then we have our Blade Dancers. Blade Dancers have movement 4, 5 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Blade Mistress, which is their leader, comes with 2 attacks. They have dodge 5+, as well as skirmishers and zealotry. So they're kind of like the Sisters of Slaughter from Dark Elves. Think of them that way. So we have blade dances. At the start of each round of combat, the unit must choose one of the following dances to perform. They may not use the same dance in 2 consecutive turns of the same combat engagement. They have Rolling Death. While performing this dance, the blade dancers gain the game Killing Blow special rule. Blade Storm. While performing this dance, the blade dancers gain +1 attack. And Seductive Shadow. While performing this dance, enemies suffer a -1 modifier to hit the blade dancers in close combat. After that, we have our Pegasus Guards. These guys have movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. The Guard Sergeant has 1 additional attack. And at the same time, they're flying Radiant Pegasi, which has 4 strength, 4 toughness, 2 wounds, as well as 2 attacks, leadership 6. They got the 9 fly special rule, as well as zealotry and Radiant Aura. A model with this special rule has 1 use only, strength 2 breath weapon is what they have. So very, very cool, very fast, hard-hitting unit as well. Then we have the Nafatoon. The Nafatoon are basically kind of like skirmishers who throw bombs is what they do. They have movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. They have the skirmisher special rule as well as the zealotry special rule. They throw naphtha bombs, which have a 6-inch range, strength 4, flaming attacks, ignores armor saves, and quick to fire. Very deadly. A enemy unit taking casualties from naphtha bombs must take a panic test. And then you can also upgrade one guy to have a naphtha siphon, which gives you strength 3, breath weapon with flaming attacks, ignores armor save. An enemy unit that takes a casualty from a naphtha siphon must take a panic test. Naphtha siphons cannot be used in close combat, but may fire every round in the shooting phase. There is no need to roll a 4+ like other breath weapons. So very, very cool there. Now we have our artillery here for our units. We have cannons, of course, which are your typical cannons. They have the zealotry rule for their crew members. Then we have monster bombards, which are massively huge cannons, as you can see in this picture below. They have the master bombard. Bombards have the following profile: 72-inch range, so you'll be able to shoot things off on the next gaming table. At strength 10 with multiple wounds, d6 + 1. Monster bombards may reroll the distance balanced by the cannonball and failed rolls to wound. If a misfire is rolled, add a -1 to the result on the black powder misfire table. It is cumbersome, so due to their size, monster bombards may not be moved after deployment, but may pivot on the spot as normal. And I forgot to mention the crew also comes with zealotry as well. Now the reason why they come with those rules is because you can actually purchase additional crew members for these artillery pieces to help defend them. Our next weapon is called the Sandglass of Time, which is basically kind of like in Prince of Persia, the video game. So the Sandglass of Time has got 7 toughness, 3 wounds, and it's also patrolled by a monk brother, which has 4 movement, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. They have the zealotry special rule as well as a stubborn special rule, as well as a ward save of 4 up. So we have this special rule, the Vessel of Ages. The Sandglasses possess the ability to nullify hostile magical sources around it. All friendly units within 12 inches of the Sandglass have magic resistance 1. In addition, the Hourglass generates 1 power dice and 1 dispel dice in the magic phase. If the Sandglass is destroyed, the ground begins to quake as waves of sand erupt, smashing against all around it. Every unit within 12 inches takes 2d6 strength 4 hits. Now, for the Sands of Time, in the Arabian magic phase, the Sandglass may cast any of the following spells as innate bound spells, power level 5. We have Abeyance, which remains in play. This is a hex spell with a range of 18 inches. While active, you may choose to make the target forgo one of the following actions: move, cast spells, shoot, or fight in close combat. Very powerful ability right there. We have Recede, remains in play. This is an augment spell with a range of 24 inches. While active, the unit may either choose to fire twice in the shooting phase or attack twice in the close combat phase. Once again, another powerful ability. And then Grave Dust remains in place. This is a hex spell with a range of 12 inches. While active, the target suffers -1 to its movement, strength, toughness, and initiative. At the start of each following Arabian magic phase, these characteristics are further deducted by 1, and will continue to do so until the spell is either dispelled or their strength or toughness reaches 0. So very, very powerful war machine right over there. Very, very cool. Then, of course, we have War Elephants, like we saw throughout North Africa. So War Elephants have movement of 6, 3 weapon skill, 5 strength, 6 toughness, 5 wounds, 2 initiative, 4 attacks, 6 leadership. They have 3 crew members on board with 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, and strength. They have 3 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. They have impact hits, d6 + 1, natural armor 5 up, and zealotry. It is a monster. We also have the special ruled Stampede. If the War Elephant suffers a wound from a missile attack, it must immediately take a panic test. Anytime a War Elephant fails a panic or break test, it will flee in a random direction as determined by the scatter dice. If it flees to any unit, it suffers d6 + 1 strength 5 hits. So that is something you got to worry about with that. Now we have upgrades. We have a Mahout, a War Elephant may reroll failed stampede tests, a Armor Plates, War Elephant gains a 5-up armor save, Spike Chain, the War Elephant gains the impact hits 2d6 special rule. If the War Elephant stampedes, it will inflict 2d6 strength 5 hits on any unit it passes through, and Spiked Tusks. Each successful hit in close combat by the War Elephant is multiplied into 2 hits. Very powerful ability. Very much like the War Elephants from Lord of the Rings, which is really, really cool. Then we have Rocks, which is another monster. Rocks are actually giant birds of prey from the 1001 Nights stories from Arabian Nights. It's got movement 4, 5 weapon skills, 6 strength and toughness wounds, 5 initiative, 5 attack, 7 leadership. It is a monster with the fly, 8 special rule, drop attack. Once per turn, during the remaining move phase of the movement phase, a rock may pick up one enemy monstrous infantry, monstrous beast, or monstrous cavalry model, except models with the fly or ethereal special rules, chosen by the Araby player. Lookout Sir still applies. That it has moved over during that phase. The model can avoid the drop attack by passing an initiative test. If the model is successfully picked up, it is then either dropped to the ground or it may be dropped over another unengaged enemy unit that the rock moves over in that same turn. The target unit immediately suffers d6 strength 4 hits, distributed as hits from shooting. The drop model is automatically removed as a casualty with no armor saves allowed. So very, very cool there as well. So now that we're done talking about the different members of the bestiary, let's go ahead and talk about the special characters from the Araby rulebook. Alright, so let's talk about the special characters. First of all, we have Khalil al-Zahir, who is the Great Sultan of Araby. He's got 4 movement, 4 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 10 leadership, and he's also carried by Throne Bearers, who's got movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 strength, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, as well as 8 leadership. Now they have the Zealotry special rule, Throne Bearers. Khalil al-Zahir goes into battle carried by 4 trusted Throne Bearers. These are treated as a mount and increases Khalil al-Zahir's unit strength to 5. We also have the Bodyguard special rule. The Great Sultan must be accompanied by a unit of Palace Guard, and he may not lead this unit. He is placed in the 2nd rank but can lead the unit as normal. As long as the Great Sultan is alive, the Palace Guard have immunity to psychology. Then we also have the Great Sultan of Araby. Khalil al-Zahir must be the army's general. His inspiring presence range is increased to 18 inches, and he also counts as having the hold your ground ability like a battle standard bearer. In addition, any friendly unit within 12 inches of him adds +1 to their combat resolution bonus. Very powerful ability. For his magic items, we have the Jewel of Mullah Akland, I believe is how you pronounce that. Once again, I do apologize if I butchered the name. The Jewel gives Khalil al-Zahir the ward save 4+ and magic resistance 2 special rule. Then we have Scriptures of the Prophets. At the start of the Arabian turn, Khalil al-Zahir may call out one of the commands below to any friendly unit with the Zealotry special rule within 12 inches. The chosen effect lasts until the start of the Araby player's next turn. Strength of the 1. The unit may reroll failed rolls to hit and to wound of 1 in close combat. Fury of the 1. All models in the unit gain +1 attack, and Faith of the 1. The unit gains immediate psychology and stubborn special rules. So this is kind of like where they're talking about the Quran written by Muhammad is basically what he's kind of like doing in terms of historical effects. Then we have Sultan Jafar, the Despot of Araby, kind of like the character from the Aladdin story. So he's got movement 4, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 9 leadership. Jafar is a level 4 wizard, uses spells from the lore of Shadow or lore of Death. He's a Despot. If Jafar is in your army, he must be the army general. All friendly units within 12 inches of Jafar may reroll failed psychology tests as if they're under his watchful eye. However, units that are outside his inspiring presence range suffer -1 to leadership due to their unwillingness to fight him. You have the Serpent Staff, which is an enchanted item. At the start of the close combat phase, one enemy model in base contact must pass a psychology test or it will become under Jafar's control for the duration of the combat phase and will attack any friendly models in base contact, chosen by the Araby player, even if it isn't a challenge. And we have the Black Book of Ibn Nagazar. There we go. The Black Book grants Jafar the Lore Master's special rule. In addition, whenever Jafar attempts to cast a spell, he must make a blood sacrifice roll to see the number of victims claimed by the book. Roll a d3, remove this number of models from the caster's unit as casualties, and add this many dice to his casting attempt. If there are insufficient volunteers for the sacrifice, Jafar is also dragged into the book. He and his unit are removed as casualties, and the spell automatically fails. No saves of any kind can be taken by models claimed by the book. If Jafar has not attempted to cast a spell at the end of each of his magic phases, he is devoured by the daemons within the book and is removed as a casualty. Perfect guy for this unit for this guy to be in is in your slaves, because you can have a lot of them and you could just eat them up and have them cast spells the entire time, which is also narratively kind of cool, at the same time gameplay kind of cool as well. Then we have Salah ad-Din, the Sword of the One. Salah ad-Din, I think he's supposed to be based off the real-life Salah ad-Din, who was the general of the Muslim forces during the Crusades. So Salah ad-Din has got movement 4, 7 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, 10 leadership. He's got the Zealotry special rule, as well as Righteousness of Faith. If Salah ad-Din is your army general, his inspiring presence range is 18 inches rather than normal 12, and any unit joined by him may reroll failed psychology tests and add +1 to their combat resolution. Very powerful ability right there. And we have Strategic Genius. If Salah ad-Din is the army general, any core unit in the army may deploy as ambushers per the normal rules. He's got the Sword of Salah ad-Din. Well, that's kind of nice. It's named after him. The Sword of Salah ad-Din gives the wielder the always strikes first and ignores armor save special rule. Oof, very brutal. And the Armor of the Sun. Medium armor, enemies attempting to strike the wearer must reroll all successful hit rolls to hit in close combat. So very, very cool. I think it's kind of neat they actually base him off the real life Salah ad-Din as well. Then we have the Golden Magus, the Sultan of the Seas, which is this character is actually from the game Dreadfleet, which was a kind of like a Man of War inspired game. This is actually one of the ships you could actually crew. This is the one that had the boat, the ship that had like the genies blowing, like I think they had an air genie and a fire genie that was on the sculpt itself. So let's talk about this guy real quick. So we have Golden Magus. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 4, 2 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 9 leadership. The Golden Magus is a level 3 wizard. He uses spells from Lore of Fire, Lore of Metal, Lore of Heavens, Lore of Light, or the Lore of the Desert. Yeah, so here's the artwork from that game, Dreadfleet. He's got the Zealotry special rule as well as Conjure Genies. At the beginning of the Araby player's turn, the Golden Magus may summon either a Jinn, Ifrit, or Armorid to do his bidding following the normal rules for Genie Binding. This model acts like a normal genie in all respects. He may have a maximum of 3 genies summoned at any one time, and every summoned genie must be of a different type. So if you like those genies, this is the dude for you. He's got the Sword of Fiery Curses. The sword gives the magus +1 strength and the flaming attack special rule. Enemy flammable model that suffers an unsaved wound from this weapon is slain outright. So Treeman beware of the Golden Magus. And then we have the Golden Robe of Protection. It's a talisman. The Golden Robe grants the Golden Magus a ward save of 5+. In addition, any attacks allocated towards him in close combat suffers a -1 to hit. Very, very cool character. Then we have Layla bint Soraya, the Princess of Araby. She's got movement 4, 5 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 2 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. She's riding on Silvermane, who's got looks like it's got the same kind of stats as a normal horse, Arabian horse, with the 9 movement. She's got the Zealotry special rule, and she's got Enchanting Beauty. Any fleeing friendly Arabian unit within 12 inches of Layla will rally automatically. If she is killed, all friendly Arabian units will get the Hatred special rule against the model or unit responsible for her death. Her magic weapons are Sword of Light. The Sword of Light gives Layla the Strength bonus 2 special rule, making her Strength 6 when charging and +1 attack. Very deadly. And Anklet of the One. The Anklet of the One gives Layla a ward save of 4 up. Nice way to beef up some cavalry units if you want some additional oomph to your attacks. Then we have Autokar Mehmed Aga, I believe is how you pronounce his name, Commander of the 1st Division. This is like the leader of the Commander of the Janissary, if I remember correctly. So let's talk about this guy real quick. So he's got movement 4, 6 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got the Discipline special rule as well as Zealotry. The 1st Division. The 1st Division is a unit of Janissaries that may move and fire even if armed with handguns. However, if they do so, only the front rank may fire. In addition, the unit may be armed with both a special close combat weapon and a missile weapon chosen amongst the normal weapon options for Janissaries in the army list. Autokar must set up with his unit and may not leave it. No other characters may join this unit. He's got the Commander's Yatagan, as gives this character Autokar +1 hit in close combat and the parry 6 special rule. And we have Steel Forged Helmet. This helmet gives Autokar a 6+ armor save. In addition, he may reroll failed armor saves. So very cool there. Then we have, this is the character I like the most, Abdul Al-Hazred, the Mad Sorcerer. Now, for those of you guys who are fans of H.P. Lovecraft fiction, of horror fiction, Abdul Al-Hazred is the guy who's supposed to have written the Necronomicon. The Necronomicon, also known as the Book of the Dead, which features quite a bit in the Cthulhu mythos stories. So they brought this character in, which is kind of cool. So Abdul Al-Hazred has got 4 movement, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. He's a level 2 wizard who knows all the spells from the lore of death. He's got immunity to psychology because he's probably crazy, and he's got the zealotry special rule. So we have Genie Master. Abdul may be rolled failed leadership tests when trying to summon genies. Very cool there. Mad Sorcerer. Before Abdul attempts to cast any spells besides the lore signature spell, you must first roll a d6 to determine which spell he may cast at this time. The resulting spell is otherwise cast as normal. In addition, Abdul may never be the army general, nor may any unit he joins use his leadership, because the dude is bat crazy. That's the reason why. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of random, but then again, all the spells from the Lore of Death are pretty solid, so go figure. His magic items are the Eye Pendant. The Eye Pendant gives Abdul a ward save of 4+. In addition, any model with the Undead special rule wishing to attack Abdul must first pass a leadership test. If failed, that model may not attack this round, which makes sense. The dude wrote the Necronomicon. And the Necronomicon, arcane item. The Necronomicon allows Abdul to reroll any ones when casting spells. However, every time he successfully casts his spell, he must pass a leadership test. If he fails the test and the result is an even number, Abdul counts as having failed a stupidity test. If he fails the test and the result is an odd number, Abdul suffers a wound with no saves allowed. In addition, any unit joined by Abdul suffers -1 to the leadership value because the dude is crazy. Crazy sauce. Very cool there. Then we have Sinbadu, which is the Corsair captain of Lashik. Sinbadu, I imagine, is based off of the legendary character Sinbad of the Seven Seas, which is a character that features quite a bit in mythology and lore and fairy tales and stuff like that from the Middle East. So, Sinbadu's got a movement of 4, 6 weapon skill, 5 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, as well as 8 leadership. He's got the zealotry special rule as well as Corsair captain. All Corsair models always treat Sinbadu as the army general for all purposes, regardless of what character is actually the army general. He's got Blades of the Great Seas, 2-hand weapons. These weapons allow Sinbadu to reroll ones to hit. In addition, he gains 1 additional attack for every enemy model in base contact. And the Ruby Eye. This talisman gives Sinbadu the ward save 5+ special rule. In addition, enemies attempting to strike him must first pass a psychology test. If failed, they can only hit him on the natural roll of a 6-up. So very cool. We're going back to that legend mythology as well as legends from the Middle East, which is neat. Then we have the Prince of Thieves, as in like the Prince of Persia, Prince of Thieves character from the video games. They even got his artwork, which is really cool. So he's got movement 5, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got the hidden special rule, Master Thief. If the prince is in base contact with an enemy character or champion with magic items, he may attempt to steal them. Roll a d6 at the start of each combat phase. On a 4+, the prince successfully steals 1 random talisman, enchanted, or arcane item from the character. The item is then removed from play. Any items stolen are worth their cost and additional victory points, even if the Prince of Thieves is wiped out later in the game. In addition, the Prince of Thieves may never be the army's general, nor unit may use his leadership, which makes sense. He's not there to lead, he's there to make money. Then we have the Acrobat special rule. The Prince has the Obstacle Strider special rule, and he can move over solid impassable terrain such as walls, rock formations, or buildings, but not water and the like. In close combat, all successful hits against him must be re-rolled. At the end of each combat he is in, before break tests are taken, he may choose to leave his unit and move out of combat. Place him anywhere within 1 inch of his unit. He may move as normal in the next turn. Very cool, which is very much fitting to his lore. And he's got the Dagger of Truth, which is a magic weapon. The Dagger of Truth always wounds on a 2+, and any enemy wounded must reroll all successful armor saves. Very cool character right there as well. Then we have Malik ibn La Ahad, also known as the Master Assassin, which is basically Altair ibn La Ahad, which I believe means son of no one, if I remember correctly what that means. So yes, get your Assassin's Creed on and use this guy. So Malik ibn Allah Ahad has got 5 movement, 4 weapons, 7 weapon skill, 6 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 7 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. He's got the dodge 4-up, immunity, psychology, hidden, scouts, as well as zealotry special rule, and he's got counterattack. Counterattack. For every close combat attack that fails to hit against Malik, you may make an additional attack back at that model. This is funny because this is actually from the original Assassin's Creed game. When you played Assassin's Creed, the very first game, you learned to do counterattacks whenever enemies attack you. Well, in that game, it was actually to your benefit to just do counterattacks the entire time, because you can literally kill your opponent with one blow instead of just hacking and slashing away at your opponent. So I think that's kind of cool that Matthias Eliasson actually included this rule. It's like a nod to the original Assassin's Creed game, which is hilarious to me. So then we have Artifacts of the Creed. He's got the Code of the Creed as well as Hidden Blade. These are upgrades that you can give your Assassin in this game, Assassin rather. And so he's got these two creeds. We'll talk about these a little bit more in detail, but the Hidden Blade gives you Killing Blow, which is, Assassin's Creed. So our magic items, we have the Dishmash Queen Blade, as I believe how you pronounce that. The Dimmash Queen Blade adds +1 to Malik strength. In addition, if he is fighting an enemy with magic weapons, roll a d6 for every attack that Malik hits with. On a 5-up, the enemy's magic weapon is destroyed. The Master Assassin indeed. Send him after your enemy's characters. He's very, very cool. Then we have Carmel. Carmel is a Jinn, which is a Jinn special character. This character's got 6 movement, weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, 7 leadership. Monsters Infantry special character. We have the Jinn special rule, Genie Binding special rule, magical attacks, unstable, and ward save of 5-up. Whirlwind. Carmel may reroll any failed charge or pursuit roll that she makes. Carmel's Curse. All enemies within 6 inches of Carmel suffer a -1 modifier to their hit rolls for close combat and missile attacks, as well as a -1 to any armor, ward, or regeneration saves they may have. Very destructive ability right there. And Carmel's Luck. Carmel may reroll failed ward saves. Very, very cool right there. So that's Carmel the Jinn. So now that we're done talking about the special characters, we're going to talk about their magical system, as well as Artifacts of the Creed, as well as their magic items next. Alright, so now we're back with the Lore of the Desert, which is the magic that is unique to the Araby Army. So we have the Shifting Sands lore attribute. Whenever a spell from the Lore of the Desert is cast on an enemy unit, that unit must reroll 6s for their charge distance when fleeing and when pursuing until the start of the next Arabian magic phase. Which makes sense because, it's the desert and you can't really see what you're doing. So then we have Sandblast, which is a signature spell cast on 8+. Sandblast is a magical missile with a range of 18 inches and causes d6 strength to hits. The target reduces all of their movement by half, rounding up, in their next movement phase. The wizard can choose to extend the range of this spell to 36 inches and the number of hits to 2d6. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 13+. The strength 2 hits are kind of nice, but what you really want to use this for is definitely for movement control. You can definitely mess with your enemy's movement statistics with this Sandblast spell. Very powerful. So the very first spell is called Curse of the Genie, cast on a 6-up. Hex spell with a range of 24 inches. The target must reroll all successful 2 wound rolls and to the start of the caster's next magic phase. The wizard may choose to extend this range of the spell up to 40 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 9+. So far what I'm seeing here, they do a lot of really good long-range spells. Long-range spells are nice because most spells can only go up to 24 inches in some cases, or 18 inches, and this is nice seeing these longer ranges. Dancing Scimitar, cast on 8+. Dancing Scimitar is a magic missile with a range of 24 inches and causes d6 strength for hits. Roll a d6 after resolving the damage. On a 3+, the Dancing Scimitar moves to another unengaged enemy unit within 8 inches. Keep rolling until you make an unsuccessful attempt or run out of enemy units. Note that any unit cannot get hit more than once by the same Dancing Scimitar each turn. The wizard can choose to extend the range of the spell to 40 inches. Oh, nice. If they do so, the spell casting value is increased to 11. Then we have Sunstrike, which is a cast on a 9+, direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches. The spell shoots in a straight line from the caster's base. Each model on the line takes a strength 5 hit with a flaming attack special rule. The wizard can choose to extend the range of the spell to 36 inches. If they do so, casting is increased to 12+. Very, very cool. I'm loving these long range spells. That is so very, very handy. Anybody ever who relies on magic knows exactly what I'm talking about. Then we have Mirage, which casts a 10-up. It's a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. Place a marker within 24 inches and line of sight of the target. While the spell is in effect, the target must turn and move directly towards the marker as fast as possible in the movement phase, or target with any missile weapons. If the marker is within charge range, the unit must declare a charge against it just as if it was an enemy unit. The spell is immediately dispelled if the target reaches the marker, has lost line of sight, or is at the start of the movement phase, hits it with any missile weapons, or is engaged in close combat. The wizard can choose to extend the range of the spell to 40 inches. If they do so, casting values increase to 13. Very, very handy. It's a really good. I'm starting to notice there's like a pattern here. They got really good long range spells for attacks, as well as redirecting and controlling enemy movement, which is really cool. Then we have Quicksand, cast an 11+, direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches. All models in the unit must take an initiative test. Those that fail must then take an armor save. If passed, they are dragged down into the sand or removed as casualties. Wow. So this is the time where you want to make sure your enemy has good armor save. And our models without armor count as passing on a 6-up. This spell has no effect on models with fly, ethereal, or strider special rules, which makes sense. The wizard can choose to extend the range of this spell to 36 inches. If they do so, casting value is increased to 14+. This is a really handy. I'm liking all these spells so far. It's kind of hard to choose which is the best one so far. I'm really liking the way this lore looks. That is really cool. Okay. Then we have Sandstorm, cast on a 12+, remains in play. Sandstorm is a spell that affects all units, friend or foe, within 12 inches of the wizard. No units within the Sandstorm can use missile weapons, and war machines cannot fire. No units may be targeted by any missile attack. Flying units are restricted to the ground movement. Enemy units affected cannot march in their next movement phase. The wizard can choose to extend this range of the spell to 18 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 18+. This would be good to use engaging in close combat with your enemy to make sure that your opponents can't shoot at you. Really good to use against shooting at heavy armies like dwarf gun lines or wood elves or dark elves or high elves or anybody that does a lot of shooting. Very cool. I really dig the lore of the desert. This is really good stuff. So far the magic I've been looking at has been kind of a mixed bag up to this point, but this is a really good one. I really appreciate this and the way that it controls battlefield conditions as well as a longer range. Very neat. Alright, so now we have Artifacts of the Creed. The Assassin have access to many exotic weapons, poisons, abilities, and unique artifacts. The Artifacts of the Creed may be taken by certain models as indicated in the army list. Unless otherwise stated, these are not magic items. A model may not have multiples of the same upgrade, but an upgrade can be taken by more than one model in the army. So this is your Assassin Creed type things. So Orb Evolution for 40 points. It's a talisman. The enemy must allocate their attacks between the assassin and his illusion in close combat. Roll a dice for each hit. On a 1 to 3, the attack hits the illusion and has no effect. On a 4 to 6, the attack resolves as normal. Venom of the Desert Snake for 30 points. All to hit rolls of 6 automatically wound. Armor saves taken as normal. Any model wounded must pass a toughness test or suffer another wound. Very cool. Hidden Blade gives you Killing Blow for 20 points, which makes sense. Shadow Strike, which is for 20 points. The assassin gains the multiple wounds D3 special rule. Oh, that is really cool. Cloak of Shadows for 20 points. Enchanted item. The wearer is an additional -2 to hit for enemies with missile weapons. This only applies if the assassin is on his own. Code of the Creed, which we saw earlier from our Malik Ibn Alahad, for 20 points. The assassin can reroll failed to hit rolls in challenges. In addition, the enemy cannot refuse a challenge made by an assassin. Very cool. Then we have Nether Toxin for 20 points. The assassin has the poison attack special rule. In addition, he always wounds on a 3+ or better. Very cool combo there. And Dagger of the Grandmaster for 20 points. Magic weapon, additional hand weapon. Nominate one enemy character at the start of the battle. The wielder of the dagger will wound that model at 2+. In addition, the model must reroll successful armor saves. Very cool. I could definitely see that being used against characters. Also monsters. This is actually really good for killing monsters as well. Very neat. I really like the Artifacts of the Creed. I'm very impressed so far by what I'm seeing on that list. So we have our Treasures of the Sand, which are our magic items. We have the Blade of Holy Wrath for 60 points. The bearer gains a strength bonus equal to the wound characteristics of the enemy model he hits in close combat. In addition, he is also subject to Hatred and Frenzy special rule. Oh. Strength bonus. That is really cool. Fighting against monsters? That would tear it up. Fighting against characters would tear it up. For 60 points for Hatred and Frenzy as well, not bad. That is really cool. Well, then we have the Martyr Shard, which is a magic weapon, 50 points. If the wielder causes an unsaved wound on an enemy model, he may choose to lose D3 of his own wounds to instantly kill the opponents. Oh, wow. No kind of saves may be taken by either side. Yeah, okay, yeah. Martyr Shard, that makes sense. Okay, very cool there. We have the Bow of Seeking for 25. Shots fired from this bow result at Strength 5 and ignore all to hit penalties. Very cool there. Shield of Faith for 50 points. Magic Armor. The bearer gains a ward save 5+ special rule. If the bearer is wounded by an enemy with a magic weapon but passes ward save, the enemy's weapon is destroyed. Ultimate trolling weapon right there. Armor of the Scorpion. Magic Armor for 15 points. Light Armor. The wearer has Natural Armor 5+ and Poison Attack special rule. Okay, nice way to add some additional oomph to a smaller character. I like that. Ring of Divine Healing for 40 points. It's a talisman. At the start of each player's turn, the ring will bestow one lost wound suffered earlier in the game. This cannot be used to increase the character's wounds above his starting value. That's kind of nice. Nice way to protect your valuable characters. Then we have the Golden Carafe at 25 points. Enemy armors lose all magical bonuses against any close combat attacks made by the bearer. Oof. They count as mundane armors of their type. In addition, any successful enemy ward saves must be re-rolled. That's nice. I I dig that item. Then we have the Lamp of Aladdin, so Aladdin's lamp for 25 points, one use only. At the start of any of his turns, the bearer of the Lamp of Aladdin, may choose to summon a genie of any type. The genie must be placed within 6 inches of the bearer, at least 1 inch away from any units or impassable terrain. The genie lasts until the start of the bearer's next turn. Oh, very cool. So one use item only. Kind of a nice way to add a little bit of shock value with some Jinn to help you out. Then we have the Rope of Kadazar for 20 points, models on foot only. As long as he is not in base contact with an enemy model, the character may climb up the rope and disappear into the ether at the start of his remaining moves phase. He reappears at any location on the battlefield, but must be placed within at least 1 inch away from enemy units. Very cool. Good way to get some of those high value characters out of a bad situation. Then we have the Sandstorm Staff, arcane item for 60 points, bound spell, power level 5. The Sandstorm Staff contains a Sandstorm spell from the Lord of the Desert. In addition, using spells from this lore, the wielder of the staff may reroll 1 power dice for every spell cast. That's pretty cool. I like that. Sandstorm is kind of nice already by itself, but having that ability to reroll 1 power die, especially if like you roll a 1 or something, very cool. And then we have the Banner of the Desert, 50 points, magic standard. Enemies firing at the unit must reroll successful to hit rolls with their missile weapons. Oh, very nice. In addition, enemy units in base contact with the unit carrying this standard suffer a -1 to their weapon skill. Very, very cool. I'm really liking a lot of these items that is being prepared by Matthias Eliasson on this one. Very, very cool combination. I like the magic. I like the artifacts of the Creed. I like the magical items for this army. Very neat. So with that being said, folks, we're now going to go to the Araby Army list, and we're going to talk about the point values for the characters, units, as well as their upgrade options. Alright, so now we're back for the Araby Army list, so let's talk about their point values real quick. So starting off with the lords, Khalil al-Zahir, which is the Sultan, costs 295 points. That's not bad. That's actually a pretty good price for this character. Sultan Jafar costs 325 points, maybe accompanied up to 2 genies at 95 points per model. Okay, not bad there. Salah ad-Din costs 265 points, maybe mounted on an Arabian steed for 20 points, and can have barding for 3 points. Very cool. We have the Golden Magus. He comes at 370 points. That's pretty good, considering you can bring up to 3 genies onto the battlefield anytime. Sorcerer Lord costs 165 with 35 points to upgrade to level 4. They can ride an Arabian steed for 21, camel for 18, or a flying carpet for 15. Flying carpet would be kind of cool. Can be accompanied up to 2 genies at 95 points apiece and take magic items worth 100 points. Yeah, that could be really steep if you kit this guy out the right way. So very important there. Then we have the Emir, which is our normal general. He costs 90 points there. He can have a spear if he's mounted, additional hand weapon on foot only, or a great weapon. He can also have a bow or a handgun, which is kind of cool. Medium armor for 3 points, shield for 3 points. Maybe mounted on one of the following: Arabian steed for 21 points with 3 points for barding, a camel for 18, a flying carpet for 15, a radiant Pegasus for 45. Awesome. And a war elephant for 155. That is cool. May take magic items up to 100 points. Very cool there. I definitely dig that. Then we have our genies with our 4 different types. They look like, okay, so it looks like they're all free. Upgrade is free for these guys, but they cost 95 points per. Okay. Then we have Layla bint Suraya, which is that the princess character for 135 points. She's a hero, so very nice there. Actually, not bad for what the things you can do. Adokar Mahmed Agaha, that guy costs 125 points. If he is taken, then you must include 1 unit of Janissaries in the army, chosen at additional cost from the special unit section of the army list. That makes sense since he's their commander. I like that. 125 points, not bad. The Prince of Thieves, this guy was cool for 165 points. Then we have Abdul al-Hazared, which is the guy who wrote the Necronomicon. He costs 165 points with 95 points for a genie. Oh, okay. So he's a little expensive for what he does, but I can see where they're going with that. Not bad. Sindibadu costs 150 points. Sinbad, basically. Not bad. Then we have Malik ibn Ahad. This guy costs 195 points, premier character killer, so I understand that one. And we have Carmel. She costs 160 points. Note, Carmel must be taken in addition to a Sorcerer Lord or Sorcerer as one of their normal genie choices. Kind of pricey for what she does, but I could definitely see it for the curse. And who am I kidding the luck? Who am I kidding? This would be a good price to use. Alright. So our heroes, our sheiks, which are our hero characters, cost 50 points. They can take spears if they're mounted, or additional hand weapons if they're on foot, or a great weapon for 6, 3, and 6. Can take a bow or handgun for 5 points apiece. can take medium armor up to 2 points, a shield for 2 points. They can be mounted on one of the following: an Arabian steed for 14 with barding for 3, a camel for 12, a flying carpet for 15, and a radiant pegasus for 30. Can take magic items to 50 points, and they can be upgraded to a the battle standard bearer for 25. Then we have our sorcerers for 65 points, 35 to upgrade them to level 2. They can ride Arabian steeds, camels, and flying carpets for 14, 12, and 15 points apiece. They can take 1 genie for 95 and magic items up to 50 points. That's fair. I like that. Hashashin, those guys cost 95 points apiece and may take artifacts of the creed up to a total of 50 points. Not bad. That's not a bad cost for that. Now let's go to our core units. Warriors of Araby come with hand weapons and shields, so no armor looks like. The Dibukim, which is that where it comes with 2 hand weapons. Holy Man doesn't come with any of that. We have our full command for 35 points. They can take a magic standard up to 25. They can take spears for 1 point, light armor for 1 point. The Dibukim costs 10 points, and the Holy Man costs 20 points. So you can take both. That's a really kitted out. And for only 4 points apiece, that's not bad. Bowmen cost 6 points per model. Full command is 10 points apiece. They come with hand weapons and bows. They may swap their bows for crossbows for 2 points per model. Very cool. Light armor for half a point, shields for half a point. Very cool. I like that a lot. That's pretty decent. Tribal skirmishers cost 5 points apiece. They got javelins as well as hand weapons. Their full command costs 20 points. They may swap their javelins for slings. That's nice for that multiple shot option. And they may take shields for 1 point. Okay, cool there. Then we have our Corsairs, cost 5 points apiece. Nice for ambushers and their core, which is nice. Their full command costs 30 points. May swap their bucklers for additional hand weapons for 1 point. May take throwing weapons for 1 point apiece. They come with bucklers as well as hand weapons. Not bad, especially for an ambushing unit. Get like a unit of 20 of these guys, they can cause some chaos in your enemy's flanks or rear. So very cool there. Slave levies cost 2 points apiece. Let's see, they can all take spears for half a point, or they all could take shields for half a point as well. I would say don't even bother with that. Just take them, because if you're using them for Jafar, for example, to use them as sacrificial lambs for your spells, that could be really cool as well. Now the Sipahis, which are those light armor guys, they cost 15 points apiece. They come with spear, light armor, and shield, fast cavalry, zealotry, Arabian steeds. Looks like 25 points for full command. Magical standard option for 25. They can take bows for 3, which is nice, and medium armored up to 1 point apiece. Make them some little bit of a heavy cav. That'd be nice. Then we have desert riders for 11 points. They have fast cavalry, quick to fire, zealotry, and hand weapon. They can take full command for 25 points, and they can take any of the following: spears, bows, light armor, and shields for 1 point, 3 point, 1 point, 1 point. That would be nice to have for bows. Bows with these guys with multiple shots with quick to fire, that would be really, really neat. I can see that. Camel Riders, whoa, really? Camel Riders are core with that 4 toughness. That's nice. 25 points for full command. They come with hand weapons and camels. They can take any of the following. They can get spears for 1 point, bows for 2 points, shields for 1 point, and light armor for 1 point. That is pretty cool. I like that these cavalry options are core. You can actually have a whole core just made up of cavalry if you wanted to, which would be neat. So our special units, our Palace Guard cost 11 points apiece. They come with great weapons and medium armor, so they have strength 6, and they're going to have that 5 of armor save, which is nice. Full command is 50 points. Can have a magic stand up to 50 points as well. Oh, sorry, full command is 30 points. Can have a magic stand up to 50 points. That's pretty good. Janissaries cost 6 points. Really? That's good. They come with hand weapons only, though, so no armor to start with. Full command is 30 points. Magic standard up to 25. The entire unit may take one of the following: pole arms for that +1 strength for 2 points, bows for 4 points, or handguns for 6 points. I would say either go with pole arms or handguns. That's probably what I go for these guys. May have shields for 1 point. And the entire unit may come one of the following: light armor or medium armor for 2 points. Ooh, medium armor with shield with handguns would be very deadly. Or medium armor with shields and pole arms would be really good as well. Very cool there as well. I like that. Mamelukes are special choices. They cost 22 points per model. They come with medium armor, spears, and shields. Makes sense. Full command is 30 points. Magic standard is 50. Maybe armed with bows for 2 points. That'd be kind of nice to have to cause some extra spamming with bows. Entire unit may take barding for 1 point per model. That is nice. Now give them what? Armor save 5, 4, 3, 2. 2 of armor save. Not bad at all. No lances, but that's perfectly fine. Now the Silent Guard, which are those guys who are supposed to be like the Unsullied from Games of Thrones, 11 points per model for Unbreakable. That's not bad. Musician and Standard Bearer for 20 points total. May have a magic standard up to 25 points. You could actually make these guys pretty good. For a unit of what, 20? That's what? That's 22, so 220 points with the full command. That's 240. That's not bad, especially for an unbreakable flanking unit. Pretty cool there. We have our Naphtatoon, which are the guys who throw the naphtha bombs. These guys cost 10 points a miniature per miniature. You must take units of 5. One of the guys can have the siphon for 20 points. I would just say stick with the naphtha bomb. That's probably good. Well, having that breath attack every round is also nice too. Yeah, might as well. You know, what is that? 50, 70 points? That's not bad, especially if you want to harass your enemies. Nomad Scouts cost 12 points per model. They come with the Giselles. Come for a unit of 5, so 60 points. You can upgrade a guy to a Sharpshooter for 10. That's not bad either. Flying Carpet Riders come in units of 5 to 10 dudes at 13 points per unit. Not bad. Dervishers come in units of 5 up with 14 points. Blade Dancers are 11, unit size of 5 up. May upgrade 1 Blade Dancer to a Blade Mistress for 10 points. These are actually pretty fair. I like that. Now our rare units, our Pegasus Guards. These guys are actually both the Pegasi. Those guys cost 38 points per miniature. Come in units of 3+. They come with medium armor, shields, and spears. Upgrade already to full command is 30 points. Magic stand up to 50 points there. Pretty cool. War Elephants cost 160 points with 3 crew. Crew comes with hand weapons and bows. The Elephant comes with armor plates. Oh, they can take all of them they want to. So 10 points for armor plates, 15 points for the Mahout, which is the driver. Chain, spike chain for 20 points, spike tusk for 30. That's what? That's 50, 60, 75. So that's what? 235 points for War Elephant? Not bad at all. And then, of course, the Rock costs you 230 points for that character, for that rare choice. Very neat there. And then, of course, we've got our War Machines. The cannon costs 85 points, but may take up to 2 additional crew with 3 points per model. Monster Bombard comes with 3, but you can get 2 more for 3 points per model for 140. And that's not bad either, so that way you have more fighters to defend your War Machines. And then the Sandglass of Time. They come with 3 Monk Brother crew, 1 Sandglass of Time. They have hand weapons, 150 points. That's not bad for what this thing can do. It's pretty powerful for 150 points. So very, very cool for the War Machines. And that pretty much makes up the army list for this one. Alright, in conclusion, so this is the Araby Army Rulebook for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy made by Matthias Eliasson with his Warhammer Armies Project. So in conclusion, this is a very impressive army. I really like some of the game mechanics involved with these guys. I really like the units. This army is very much a glass cannon army because pretty much everything is almost toughness 3 for the most part, but they can put out a lot of wounds and a lot of damage to the enemy as well. I really like the magic system they have as well as the magical items available to them as well as the special characters. Their units are very, very cool. I think this is a very well written army, and I really like the way that this army is actually built, the way it's designed. Very, very fast paced. They can control battlefield conditions. They can limit your enemy's movements. This is a very, very cool army to play. Now, I will admit this. I would not recommend this army for a brand new player because the game mechanics look very specialized, and I would say it's perfect for an experienced player. As an experienced player like myself, I can see the ways you can exploit some of these abilities and maximize your effects against your enemy. And so because I would recommend that more experienced players actually try out an Araby army rather than new players. The rules are a little esoteric in that sense, so that's the reason why I wouldn't recommend it for brand new players. But for experienced players, this is absolutely fantastic. To be perfectly honest with you, if I was actually start playing 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy, this would be the army I would actually play. To be perfectly honest, I really liked everything that's in here. This is very, very impressive. So far, out of the army books I've looked at, the ones that I've had made for armies that haven't never existed before, this has got a lot of really cool options in it. I really like the way they've actually, Matthias Eliasson actually made these rules, and the units are available to them. I could really just, my imagination went nuts when I was actually reading this stuff and figuring out how you could use it on the battlefield. So it's very, very awesome in that sense. So yeah, if I was ever playing 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy, this would be the army for me, I think. This is really, really neat that way. Now, there is one major negative, of course, and that is finding sources for your miniatures. So far, that's been the common problem with finding miniatures up to this point for the unofficial army rulebooks, aside from Chaos Dwarves. Chaos Dwarves so far have the best sources because you can get almost all your miniatures from Kings of War, made by Mantic Games if you need to, as well as, you know, just normal orcs and goblins from Games Workshop if you want. as for Araby, there isn't that much that I am aware of. I could be incorrect on this one, but I assume you have to do things like look for historical miniatures war game like Deus Vult, for example, which is a historical miniatures war game that's set during the Crusades. I imagine that would be a good place to look for some miniatures as well. Same thing with some other historical websites as well. The only problem I foresee, though, is that those historical websites and their miniatures war games are pretty expensive, so this would be a pretty pricey army to field, especially with their lower point values for a lot of the fighters. So I can see how that could be a problem as well. So that is the only negative I have for this, is the finding the sources of miniatures. But other than that, though, this is a really well-written army, very compelling rule system, very interesting game mechanics involved with this one. So this is a very excellent army. And not to mention, since you can download this book absolutely for free from the Warhammer Armies Project, it is absolutely stellar and another fantastic job by Matthias Eliasson. So that's good to do for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.